Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is the legendary director Uwe Boll. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Do you have any zombie movies filming in your backyard? I was listening to your podcast, and you had a zombie movie in your backyard filming. So
No, I know. Olaf Ittenbach did a splatter film, and he shot a few scenes in my bunker because I have like a house what was built 1 year after the Second World War, and they put a bunker in, like a real bunker where you can go in if they bomb the area, basically. And he wanted to shoot a few scenes there for a horror film, so that was the shooting in my house.
nice. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I would love to have a zombie movie shoot in my house. That'd be great. I feel like since I watched Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, everywhere I go, I'm like, how do I protect this place from zombies? So I'm like a zombie movie fanatic. So it'd be nice to have one. Actually, you filmed in a lot of houses. I don't would you want a big film crew in your house? I don't know. I've worked on a lot of commercials. I worked on about 150 sets and we were in a lot of houses. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd want someone filming in here.
No, this thing like when you're in the film industry yourself, it's like too many people, too much damage, and things getting like in the beginning everything is nice and tight, right? So like you put your slippers over your shoes and whatsoever, and then it slowly falls apart with the time pressure or whatever. The worst is if it's raining outside and people like crew have to go in and out, and there is a reason why you get so much money for it.
Yeah.
It's like when people want to rent your house and they offer you like 10 grand for a day. Everybody thinks this is insane. That is the best thing ever. I would always take it. Yeah, but maybe you have to paint one or two walls later or whatsoever. Yeah.
And clogged toilets and scratch walls. And I did
Yes.
locations on a few shoots. And so I had to you lay cardboard everywhere. You make sure, hey guys, don't go in this room, don't sit on this couch. And by the 15th hour, you have the grips sitting on all the couches. You have stuff everywhere. So
Yeah. And then we shot like when I recently shot the film in New York, the first shift film. And we shot in an apartment, the scene where a guy had a lot of art, like he had a lot of art hanging there. And we couldn't use it for the film because the right clearance was not there, right? So now the complicated thing starts, like who's removing the art and where? So because you don't want to necessarily staple it up in a corner if it's like a high valued stuff, and then everything goes to shit basically, because so we paid the guy, I think, $1,500 to remove the art, to just tell him, because he had to do it on his time before. I said, look, here's the deal: if you do it the day before and then you do whatever you want, but you are liable. We need the art off the wall. And that was a good deal, because in the very end, if I would send people in, they would have to pack it, wrap it up, put it somewhere totally different, not in his apartment. I think he put it all in his bedroom. And then if something is like whatever, a little like scratched or broken, it was on him. And overall, the deal was okay. But he was very happy, because I'm sure he didn't took very good care of it. He just put it off the wall and put it in his bedroom and said, $1,500 I made in another 1.5 hours.
But that's smart though, because if that gets damaged, I was on a promo shoot for a TV show, and a piece of antique furniture that was rented got damaged, and it was $5,000.
Yes,
So might as well pay him $1,500 to save 5-10 grand in the long run. So
yeah,
it hurts, but at least
if we remove it, if the film crew removes something or is doing something, you have to pay the full price for it. And and then it's the thing. It's like, sure.
So I noticed you shot a lot in Canada, but you moved over to New York City for this movie. Is there just a new location, new get on the, like, you just wanted to be on location in New York to get that authenticity? What brought you to New York?
Absolutely.
Just yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I personally like New York. I was a long time. I was various times there, and I like it as a city. If the weather is good, right? So if it's like when we shot now in March, the weather, it was cold and so on. It's a little miserable. But for a darker police drama, it's still, you cannot copy Brooklyn or something in Toronto or in Vancouver. It always looks fake, even if it gets done all the time. But we had a film in a way. First shift is like plays on one day, and we follow these guys from case to case to case. So it's all over the city. And how we want to do this in Vancouver, you know, or something, it's like you cannot have a longer car drive without people seeing that is never ever New York. And so we had to do it in original locations. And I felt also it's also the first film now I do the post-production in Los Angeles. So where I did a lot in Vancouver because you get the labor tax there and so on. But I felt this film I do full on in the States. Also with the crew, they were all American basically.
Nice. And I read that I heard that you gave the editors like a first pass without bothering them. How's post-production coming on it? How was that first pass that you were able, or have you watched it yet?
I didn't saw it. They
Oh.
take the time for the first pass. No, he's the Manicus is cutting it. He did From Dusk Till Dawn and Sin City and so on. And I gave him his freedom and his time to do it. So he said he needs 3 weeks. He had an assistant putting it all together first, like all the material with the sound and everything. And now he is only working for the last 10 days. So I give him 3 more weeks. Then he comes up with his editor's cut, basically, you know, and then we go over it. And it will get changed, of course. But I think sometimes an editor is not on set, so he doesn't know how this shoot was or how the scene came together, and he sees it more with the views, with the eyes of an audience. And I think it's good to get that impression for yourself as a director, because I'm kind of tainted. You know, when you're on set, you work with actors, you maybe like the performance from 1 or 2 actors more as the others, but it's maybe not true. It's maybe for the normal audience, they think that other guys were better or whatever, right? So, and I think it's a good thing, a good collaboration to do this together.
Absolutely. I was just reading about John Wick 4. Chad Stahelski hired an editor who had never really done an action film before because he didn't want an editor who knew how to cut action. Like he just wanted an editor who kind of saw the movie new. You know, does that make sense? Like the beat for beat. So what you're doing is smart, like a different eyes, fresh perspective on it. I like that.
But you still need a very good editor to then grow on the occasion, basically, right? So and I think I mean I worked with a lot of different editors over the time, and you had, for example, Postal was edited by Julian Clark, who did then later Deadpool and massive big movies and got an Oscar nomination. And I think Postal was one of his first films, but you saw right away that guy has talent. Like he, you know, like where you feel like he grabbed the right shots, the best combinations together. And Thomas Sabinski did, I think, Rampage 1 and Stoic. He also is an extremely good editor I worked with, and that sticks, right? So when you have like great talent working in departments, they make your film better.
Absolutely. And sounds like you have one of Robert Rodriguez's editors right now, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes.
Sin City.
Yes. I mean, that's great. And he's doing it because he loves Postal. He loved the film. He said Robert Rodriguez watched it too. He loved also Postal. So at least Postal turned into a little classic behind the business, right? I think a lot of people watched Postal and felt it's kind of rule changing, you know, the political incorrectness, and combined with a lot of famous actors doing this, I think turned into kind of a cult movie for a lot of people.
I was just rewatching it. I saw J.K. Simmons. I was like, J.K. Simmons, Postal. So it was fun to just see him popping up. So,
Michael Huddleston, who played the Big Lebowski, Vern Troyer, Dave Foley. There are a lot of the little parts are like very good actors doing it.
Yeah. And the editing, like you said, solid. I mean, if the editing's not good on a satire, like, because you got to be tight with those jokes. Like, you know, Rage, Dr. Strangelove, right? Like, you gotta walk a fine line on editing satire, and definitely did a good job. So that's cool. That's a stressful place to start, but it's good to like make that all come together.
Yeah, I think like where you really can like basically destroy a film is if in comedy the timing is off, and in action the logic is off. So I think these are the two options how in edit you can just destroy a film. I'm a big fan of real action scenes, like less CGI, like doing real stuff and real stunts and real shootouts, whatever. And I'm very much like, as a film viewer, I'm very much looking into logic. Like, could that guy do this? Could he survive this? And I'm not the biggest fan of, for example, take the Fast and the Furious or something, when they are normal human beings, but why they survive falling from the third floor on the hood of a car?
Mm-hmm.
They would be paralyzed forever. And that is what I don't, that is where they lose me as an audience, where I say it's just bullshit.
And I like what you said about action too. Like Mad Max Fury Road, I think works because they drive one way and then they drive back the other way. You can follow the action. Like, exactly, like they keep it simple. And so like those are probably some of my favorite action movies where like The Raid, they just got to fight their way up. Like that's when you keep that core idea so simple, I think you can really focus on the choreography, the action, the actors. Like you don't have too much plot to worry about because you're just going up and killing people. So I like when they keep that simple. It makes me happy. But
or like the shootout in Heat, or Ronin, the car chase. That was all like on the edge, and it was doable, right? You never had the feeling it's total fake. Like now, it's the same like 25 years ago, the James Bond films were all kind of, the action scenes were doable. And now it's all CGI and totally over the top.
I love that you brought up Heat and Ronin. That car chase. Like watching Robert De Niro take a rocket launcher out of the sunroof of a car and blow up another car is gonna always be one of my favorite moments in film.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I think in the film history, it's one of the best car chases ever. And because they did it, they did it in front of green screen or whatever. They had camera cars, they had the cars they're driving, and they did it. And of course, stunt drivers, but highly skilled and extremely good. So the opposite to whatever Michael Bay's car chasing stuff, So, but you always know it's twisted, faked with a lot of like models and CGI and so on, and then it's not so realistic.
Absolutely. And Frankenheimer loved cars too, so you could tell that he was into it, not just like it wasn't just a job to him. They went out and did it, and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So how's it back? What's it like being back on set? I was watching Raging Bull, and you were kind of talking about when you were younger, you had about 16,000 movies in a notebook, and then you decided to kind of put your film critic side away and become a filmmaker. And then you kind of had your early films in the German film industry. Then you moved over to Canada, major wide releases. You retired. Now you're back. Like, what's your mindset coming back, and especially in the streaming area when there's not rentals, when there's not Blockbuster? Like, what's your how is it? I want to know. Like you.
I mean, the reason that I said 2016 after like Rampage 3, it's over. It doesn't make any more sense to do films. Was because of Blockbuster was dead, and rentals and even DVD sales. You see that it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And but I missed making films. And then with more and more streamers doing their own productions or buying and licensing films, I saw a new opportunity and felt, okay, I could come back and just focus on hopefully selling to the streamers, basically. Yeah. So, and that is why I came back. And I mean, on set, it's this kind of, you don't forget it, how it is on set. It's not like what I was doing, like it was right back in, and it was a good feeling. I mean, it was fun to work with the actors. All the actors had a great relationship with Kristen Renton. She was from Sons of Anarchy. She played the female lead. Gino Pesi, Shades of Blue with Jennifer Lopez. He was the lead with her. So there was good names also, I think, for streamers. Not the old film guys in a way, more the modern TV guys, and Daniel Soli, Gary Pastore from The Deuce. They play always like mafia guys and so on. So I think the little parts are also a strong cast. And for me, that was one reason to go to New York, is you have the talent there. So you can get actors, they coming with an Uber, right? So you don't need the first class hotel and the flights and whatever, like all the stuff when you fly them to Canada, what creates a lot of costs. And there you just say, look, I need you for 2 days. We pick you up in the morning. And so you have a better chance to get solid, good actors for cheap in a way, because it's where they live.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, I live in Atlanta, and I worked on a lot of film sets. And you're right, you get people flown in from every other place but here. You know, especially back in 2010, 2011, like when we were just Atlanta was just getting started with the tax incentives and all that. And like you have someone fly in, you put them in a hotel, then you got to get them food. So here in New York, like you said, you can have a Broadway, off-Broadway actor, someone who's been in every Law and Order, day played on almost every single show out there. Then they come out and they just can knock it out for you in an Uber. It's a good money saving. I like that. Yeah.
But now in Atlanta, it's like film heaven now, right? I mean, it's crazy, you know, like the Tyler Perry is there with the studios, right? And yeah, it's growing. Yeah.
When I moved here, and sorry to interrupt, I just get excited when I talk about the Atlanta film industry. When I moved up in 2010, we were just shooting in warehouses. You know, you drop a wrench and the take is wrecked from 100 yards away. You know, a Teamster turns on the car, it's cut, like, because everything goes through these warehouses. But then Pinewood came on. Now it's Trillium Studios, and they built sound. Like I remember the first time I stepped stage in an actual sound stage, I was like, you can't hear anything outside. And so now it's just growing. We got Hunger Games, the Marvel movies, and a lot of TV shows. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like a fad. Like, Florida, North Carolina, Louisiana, they still have a lot of film there, but like Georgia's like taking off because of the tax incentive, about like Canadian tax incentives, Georgia tax incentives. But it's no longer just like LA, New York people come here and tell us how to do it. Like, hey, we've been here for 10 years. We have the sound stages. We know how to do it. So it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice watching it grow.
Yeah. No, and I think it's great. I mean, it's definitely easier there to shoot too, because the logistics are easier. I mean, that was tough in New York, right? You were always in traffic jam. And to come from A to B, or when we had like 2 shooting locations on one day, the move was horrible. It cost you 2 hours. Even if it's 5 kilometers, like 5 miles away, it will be 2 hours before you do any shots wherever you want to go. So that is, of course, easier. It's also easier in Vancouver because it's way smaller.
Yeah,
it's just like New York is just big. It's a long drives from from Queens. If you're in Queens and you have to go to Staten Island or something, it's like the world tour is starting.
If you're a producer too, you got to worry about the permitting, the street parking. Like you got to do that in advance, and if there's a rain day, it gets set back, and then you got to do the permitting again. So I did an event.
Discussions. The holding was the problem, right? Because when you're on a road, whatever, right? So you cannot transport everybody because you have 2 guys in a car talking. But now you also have to, in a way, you don't want to drive 40 minutes back where the other people are. You want constant coordination, that they're coming where you are, but only when you need them. And that was not easy, because we basically had almost every day another, like 2 locations every day. And so we had a few days where we were just in an apartment A and an apartment B. That was easy. But as soon we were on the road and this car driving stuff, they pull over like drug dealers and whatever. So you have like a kind of a car chase, and then they're taking over. But you don't really have where the car chase ends is maybe right now no prop guy, no costume guy, no makeup guy, because they're far behind you and everything, right? So, and now you're sitting there and you wait because you need the prop guy putting like the drugs in the trunk of the car and stuff like this. So that is tougher in big cities.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when you're producing and watching the sun go away, and that another day of rentals and cars and permitting costs money. So
yeah, exactly. And it's a day shift, so it's like we always around 6 or 7 o'clock, it starts getting really bad with the sun, right, with the light. And I mean, we shot with the Alexa Mini. It's very easy now in a way to shoot, even if it gets a little dark. You can totally fake it, But around 7:15 p.m. it was over.
It was over
every night. So and it was just like, okay, we have that doesn't fit to anything we just shot, so we need to stop. And but it was kind of nice too, because then you're in a risk, you know you cannot go till 11 p.m. or something, and everybody wants to kill you, and you know, and then the turnaround, and you have this kind of like, so now we're totally done because tomorrow before 10:30 nobody can come to work, and you have like this kind of another super short day coming. And so I think we figured it out well. But I think, no, I want to continue making films. I felt also like now getting older, right? You think, you know what, and maybe have like 10, 15 more good years where I'm sportive and can do everything I want. You never know when the age gets you, right? So where you're like getting sick or whatever, or you just decline. And I felt if I don't go back now, then I maybe never go back. You know,
Absolutely.
so yeah, so I don't see me like Scorsese or Clint Eastwood making films when I'm 85 or 90, you know, but up to 70, 72, whatever, you can shoot films.
Absolutely. I like what you said about the Alexa Mini. You can shoot that thing wide open. Get yourself
Yeah,
an extra hour or so. It's kind of nice, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. And it's also now with like did good jobs already with the coloring and stuff. They put like some filters on, you know, little gold here, little gold there. So you can really fake the theatrical experience now way better as 3-4 years ago, right? So the because I missed the 35 millimeter look, as so many people, right? The video was kind of too clear. It was this kind of, the fascination was not there. And now I think they really figured it out. I mean, you really can fake now that you shoot like a John Wayne Western from the 60s with the new possibilities you have.
Oh yeah, because I remember with early HD days, you could definitely feel like Michael Mann experimented with that a lot. You had, other movies going, I mean, it's cheaper than buying film. Film's expensive. So I understand why people had to go digital, but you could feel it. So it's kind of nice now that they're adapting it. They're making it a little bit more natural. So that's pretty cool.
Yes, because the video look first was unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
It felt kind of fake, you know, and you had that feeling, what I'm watching here a Dateline or something, but I'm not watching a film. And that changed now. So it really got better.
And that's the last thing you want to in watching a movie, is to not be thinking about the movie and thinking about the look, the cinematography, the Christmas. Like that takes you out of that's the last thing you want as a filmmaker, is to people kind of, I'm not used to this. My eyes aren't used to this. So that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Nice.
No, I agree.
I will say though, I was watching Far Cry, and some of those locations out there in Canada, like Western Canada, Vancouver. Oh my gosh, no wonder you shot out there. Plus everything else, but
Yeah.
it's a beautiful place to shoot.
That is the thing. You have the ocean, right? You have the mountains. You have this kind of very big nature prairie kind of stuff. What 10 kilometers out of Vancouver, you can fake Arizona if you want. Like there's also a lot of like kind of desert kind of feelings to it. And then you have the big city if you need it. So that is an advantage. As this is one of the reasons also I think Vancouver makes so much films and TV shows. It's so flexible with the locations, definitely.
I think we got lucky with Atlanta too, because we got the mountains. Then we have Savannah. You can get over to the water reasonably easily. But no, I like what you said about New York and shooting on your movie. I worked on Anchorman 2, and our job during a big fight scene, and our job was to get the New York taxi cabs. I did cars a lot in movies, and so you get the drivers in the cars and you just drive around in circles all day. But we like, and then what's the problem is they all bunch up, and there's a bunch of cars, and then there's nothing, and then a bunch of cars. So then you got to like stagger them. But it is, you feel when it's not New York. And I've been watching some like exploitation movies lately, like Abel Ferrara, Miss 45, Bad Lieutenant, or like you feel New York. Like I love it when people can do that. Or did you watch a lot of those movies? Like was that kind of an influence for you growing up in this?
And so on, so and like the Bronx Tale from Robert De Niro, whatever, you cannot fake it. Yeah. It's no, I agree with Bad Lieutenant or something. You feel it's real because it's real. So that is the same. And especially when you said with the traffic, 100%. But we had that thing now too with First Shift. So we had a scene, we shot it in front of the courthouse in Manhattan. And it's just a simple thing, like the cop brings an evidence box to the state attorney. The state attorney has a guy outside waiting, he gets the box, gets back up, and our cops keep driving. But every take, because it's a one-way road, as everything in New York, right? So they had to circle around, like it took like 20 minutes before we saw them back, right? So it's like I'm not, nothing moves, whatever, and you have like, you just cannot go against the one-way road. That would mean you whatever block Times Square, you know, and then you spend $100 grand. Like that is the difference. You know, when you have the driving permit, and you had like we had like a little parking zone reserved for us, that you can do with the city permits, and it's not too expensive. But as soon you say we blocked down Fifth Avenue for 2 hours, it's 6 figures, like to get the permits, you know. So so we got away with a lot. That is also the good thing. New York, the cops are so busy; they're not really policing film shoots. You know, they only interfere if the traffic gets stopped.
Got it.
Otherwise, they don't really care what you're doing there. You know.
So if traffic gets bad, you're like, all right, let them through, let them through, let them through. All right, you know, like
yes,
let's
we had
go again.
of course, the location guys, you know, they were like on the corners, whatever, but we couldn't afford basically to stop all the traffic, because then the people would jump out of the cars and hit us all. And for our film, it was good that the real traffic happened. You know, they're coming in the real traffic. But of course, it took forever in regards of getting around a big circle, like left to come back to that spot. And then when you, and the camera people, they were always like, let's do one more a little tighter. And I said like, yeah, but it's another half an hour to go a little tighter, right? And I said, look, what is that scene? Like, there's a guy getting a box and walks up the stairs. It doesn't bring for the film a lot. It's just something they have to do. The key thing is the dialogue they have in the car about the evidence box, right? So and that is where then the director comes in. And for me as a director producer, it's this kind of like, I battle it out with looking on the watch, you know, and say, look, to get that a little tighter, what is basically better in a wide shot, because you sell New York, right? We're not doing it. So I called that off, said, we're not doing it half hour now. We're done. We did it 3 times. We have to go to the next location to get the dialogue properly. You know, I mean, yeah.
So that's the producer coming out. That's the producer coming out, and like
totally.
You have an inner monologue director. You have two I picture 2 of you on your shoulders, the director and the producer, battling it out during the day.
I don't know what docu about it is, where they interviewed Clint Howard about me. And he said, Uwe has the battle too between the director and the producer, but the producer wins, right? Yeah. So, I think in 80% Clint is right? But that means not that I don't care. You know, and that is the thing what some people would think, he doesn't care. He's whatever, moving on as a producer to save money and there. And I said, no, that is not the case. But I put the weight in where it really matters. You know, where you feel like I cannot rush this now. It's a key element of the whole film. And, or if the performance is not there right now, we need to keep doing it to get better performance. So that is where where the producer doesn't win, but the producer wins when you have to make some clever decisions and say, look, that here is not a war-winning scene for the film, and the audience will never care if we go closer to the moment where the guy gets the box. You know, so that is the thing. Yeah.
And no, but you make a lot of sense, because let's say you're making a movie with a decent budget, but not the biggest budget. You're shooting in New York. You got to meet your days. Like you said, you have a crew that's signed up. You have rentals. You have a camera. You have, for every camera, you have the loader. You have the locations. You have this. So if you go for that 4th take every time, and it's an extra 30 minutes, that's going to push you back a week, 2 weeks. And that adds, if you're only shooting a month, that adds another 50% of your budget on there. So it's got to be tough, but like I think I've worked on some really small sets. Like I've taken a rolling chair and used it as a dolly. I've done the smallest things you could possibly do. But I think a lot of people who haven't worked on sets don't get that. Like with every day, you got to pay for more rentals, the trucks, the parking, the crew. So it's I get it. I get exactly where you're coming from with that. So it's like what's important and how much time do we have? When do we have the actors? How much money do we have? So I get it. I totally get
But
it.
it's the best crew you can get. The best crew you can get are people like you, where you have experiences in all kinds of movie making and you can adjust to it.
Yeah.
Right. And there are people now, when you work like 10 years in Law and Order or Blue Bloods or something in New York, you cannot adjust to anything anymore.
No.
You
Because it's the same.
like, yeah, the craft service is the main point where your life circles around, basically, and and it's this kind of like then tough to go back to an indie feature where everybody has to move,
Absolutely.
so.
That's funny. I make a joke. I say that I've drank a lot of coffee on a lot of sets. I circled the craft table a lot for coffee. And no, I get it. Yeah, because like I worked on the second season of a show. So second season has more money. A lot of it's on stage. And it's just basically you outside saying rolling, flicking the light on, and then just sort of looking at your phone, which isn't great. But you do, yeah, it's better to be like I started my career, I worked on like a reality show. So I was in the Everglades chopping down trees. I was carrying dead alligators around, like they were worried about rattlesnakes. And like I like that. Like I feel like there's a high sometimes you get on sets where it can be stressful and you're working 12-hour days, you're 3-hour round trip. But like it's fun when things click, right? Like it's fun when you're on a film set and you just feel good about how fast you're going and you're getting good stuff. So, there's a lot of times where you're questioning your life choices, but there's also a high to being on film sets. But you got to be flexible. That was a long answer.
No, I agree. And you cannot have only hard days, right? So, but I think when people getting it and they're interested in the progress of the film, they know, okay, now I'm on as a grip guy. I'm on as an electrician. I need to deliver now. We don't have time now for whatever that you say, I put the little flag here and then I tape it here. It's like, then you make things happen faster. And I agree. Like when that is one of the reasons I like shooting daylight and stuff, because you don't need a lot of light. You can just have the cameras going, and you can move and do something. It's so much easier. I remember when I shot Alone in the Dark, and the next studio up was X-Men, and that was with Bryan Singer and Halle Berry and everybody, and there was for days and days nothing happened. The crew was hanging out. Halle Berry didn't came out of the trailer. Bryan Singer never came to set. Then they were they were all on payroll and they gave a shit, right? $100 million film or $120 million film. But they were bored like shit. Like there were a lot of people came to us and said like, look, we can help out if you, because they were like they know there would be no shoot today because they went in, they were fighting. It looks like they were Singer and Halle Berry didn't get along, I think. And they were fighting and whatever. And then one left. And that was it. Like there is no, like, he's not driving now downtown to the hotel and will come back in 2 hours. The day is over. But then nobody repped them because they were scared to rep people in the case that they come back. It's like that there was no information, and then you have like this kind of fear because they're stars and so on. And crew were really hanging out on our set and said, look, at least you shoot something.
Yeah. And you talking about shooting things, I heard that Rampage was shot in 6 days. Which
that was Rampage 2.
Oh, Rampage 2. How many days was Rampage?
1 was like 23 days.
Okay, because I was like that bingo hall scene I love, and I was like, how do you do that on a 6-day? I'm like, do you like? And then a lot of it's daylight, and I was kind of just thinking like, yeah, it kind of blew my mind a little bit. So I wanted to. I was like, if that's 6 days? Because that scene took its time. I like the coverage in that scene. I like the sense of humor. I really like that. So I was like, how do you do this in 6 days? Like what it's but okay, that's good to know. So 20 some days. Got it. That now I can wrap my head around it a lot more.
Rampage 2 and 3 were more simple, right? You had like the TV station as a location or the forest in a location. It was clearer, like we can do 6 days. We don't have a lot of money, but we put all the money in action. So that was the thing. I could afford to maybe shoot 10 or 11 days, but then I wouldn't have all the stunt people, all the explosions. So I had to really do it on a budget and shooting very fast. And no, but Rampage 1, there was way too many scenes with way too many actors, way too many locations. Impossible to shoot under like 20 days.
Good, because I was going to pick your brain about that. I'm like, how much Red Bull was drank if you shot it in 6 days?
But with the coffee, you're totally right with the coffee. When I'm at home, I drink a cappuccino in the morning, and I maybe drink another cappuccino in the afternoon, right? So, and on a film set, I had like first up was always a triple shot, at Starbucks in the very early morning, because the pickup was mostly at 5:30 or something, because we needed to use the daylight. So for me, the driver knew already right away to Starbucks for me to just get in the mood, basically, right? Mm-hmm. And then I had 2 more of them at least, so at like 6 espresso per day. No, 9 espressos. It was 9 a day. But in a way, it keeps you working.
Yeah. That and diet. You have a huge lunch, you're gonna get tired. So I learned how to like snack all day to never get to the point where like at night I wasn't gonna do sugar because I knew I would crash. So I like put like a whole science into my eating on film sets, because I didn't want to be tired at the 15th hour of a shoot day. So yeah.
I mean, what I did, I mostly went for dinner with Gino and Kristen. They were not in the same hotel like me, but they were because they were both not in New York. She's from New Orleans, and Gino lived 50 kilometers outside of New York, so we had to put him in a hotel. And everybody else went home. But then it was always around 7:30. We were done, right? So, and I was not the biggest fan of the catering we got. It was like always the same. And so I ate, as you, like, I only snacked little stuff over the day. And then I said, okay, let's go to the Italian restaurant or whatever, and let's just have a pasta to have a calm finish of the day, right? Have a glass of wine, have a pasta, and boom. And that is what we basically did almost every single day, to just come down too. It helps you when you get all railed up by the film shoot and you go in the hotel room, you're not sleeping. You're like, oh, fuck. Then you start reading the emails over the day and stuff like this. So for me, that was good to always like this kind of like have this hour dinner with a glass of wine to just come down, and then you sleep better.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're right about it. I guess since we're film people, we set ourselves up to sleep in a lot of hotel rooms, but it is something about like working all night, then going back to your hotel room that just, it's kind of hard. It is hard to sleep. You just sit in this kind of box of this room. So yeah, like I guess it is good to go have a nice dinner and unwind and take your mind off something. Like don't think about dailies. Don't talk about, that extra shot. So yeah, I guess it is good to unwind. Is that something you would do back in the day, or is that like is this kind of like what you're enjoying now?
No, back in the day, we were basically during the shoot never going out and eat. It was like you come home, you maybe make yourself like I always had in Vancouver apartments also. So I cooked in the apartment myself, right? So, and, but I also never had really a shoot where it was not mixed up, going nighttime, going late, and, Alone in the Dark or whatever movies like this, they went very late a lot, Bloodrayne. So you're home at 11, at 12, and then you're totally off any rhythm. So that was very nice, I have to say, in first shift. And it's also like lonely then in the hotel.
Yeah.
I recognize that too, right? So like, as you said, you're in the big box, and now you put the TV on, you're looking at a computer, but okay, now if I'm sleeping, boom, the alarm will go on. I have to get up, jump in the shower, get dressed, and then the driver will be outside, and then the hustle has to start again, right? So, yeah. And I mean, that is the thing where, as a director, producer, you never have downtime because you're on the whole time. Because if you slow down, nothing will ever happen, right? So then they will all slow down, and then nobody shoots anything. And that is the problem. But I say you can do 2 films a year as a director producer, if it's not like Lord of the Rings or something, but let's say 2 normal films where you have like a month's shooting. That is doable to do 2 a year.
Yeah, get the scripts in, a couple of months of pre-pro, or a month of pre-pro, and then just get going. Yeah, you could do that. Month-long shoot. Absolutely. And then, so you're prepping for a shoot now in South Africa. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that film I had to push basically at 12 hours. Is a thriller where a guy, so the family gets kidnapped, and he is in South Africa, but he's not from South Africa. So he gets blackmailed into killing 5 people. He just gets a phone with a list, and he has to kill these people to get his family back. And of course, during the process of doing it, he wants to find out, like, everybody he kills, basically, he interrogates before, right? He said, like, who wants you killed? Like, who are these people? Maybe you can lead me to them where my family is, and they don't have to kill you. So, and it's a lot of like interaction there. And then he gets arrested after he killed after he killed number 3, he gets arrested by the police. And before they take the phone away from him and they arrest him, he sees that his next target is the guy, the detective. And then he thinks like only like, oh, I have to get in a room with the guy saying I confess or whatever, and then I have to kill that guy. So it's a great film, and but I couldn't get a star big enough to do the film. That is the problem with a film like this. You have one guy in Africa, right? And you have like, what I like is you are in a surrounding you don't know, and you have a lot of like also African local actors, but you need that one guy who carries the film, and you cannot shoot that with a mediocre name. For this, you need a real name, and it was tough. We made some offers like Kit Harington from Game of Thrones, and then he was busy with other stuff. He could do James McAvoy. I made an offer, right? So because we cannot also go too old, it's something that you cannot have like a grandfather trying to Liam Neeson would be almost the guy who plays scenes, but I think he's too old now for this, right? So and so I could do it, but we want to do it, and we want to try to cast again, try to get that actor, because in like now summertime is coming in the US and in Europe, but in South Africa it's then winter. So there the summer is in December, January, February. That is where you want to shoot a film there. So now I would try to do that film next winter time, in our winter, and try over the next 4 or 5 months to get an actor.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. And how's the podcast going? I know you want to get a little promotion out there for that. So how's the pod going?
The what?
Your podcast.
The Uwe Boll Raw.
Yeah. How's that going?
Yeah, I do that forever now with Gary Otto. And I mean, we talk about everything, personal things, politics, everything. And not only film, right? Also, whatever, the Ukraine war and everything. And I think it's fun to do it like once a week for like 45 minutes, like a recast of the week. And but I felt also when we did it, when I shot the film, when you're not talk about politics, you save a lot of energy, because politics takes so much energy out of you, because in the very end, you cannot change it. You're like basically an observer of what's happening, and you make your opinions about things, and you get upset about things. But when you're almost like when I shot the film for 1 month, I basically didn't really follow the news. And I felt way better in not like getting confronted with the Taiwan. We have wars everywhere. We have the climate disaster. So you come from one shit after the other when you look too much into politics, basically.
I have a quick question for you though. Watching your documentaries, hearing you talk about films, I would love, since you're such a film buff, like, have you watched anything recently that you love that you want to recommend to the listeners? Like, are there some movies that you've checked out recently that get your seal of approval that you want to promote?
I like the Tetris movie on Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually really funny, and it was very interesting how that game came from Russia and got distributed. And I like Beef
Yeah.
on on Netflix, that TV show about the road rage thing. I think it was very funny and totally absurd, but very entertaining. And we're watching, my wife and I, we're watching right now Yellowstone, The Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, all that Taylor Sheridan stuff. What is highly entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I like it that it's very straight in the face and brutal, even if it's totally unrealistic. I mean, think about Yellowstone, they would be all in jail for murder 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because all his sons, the daughter, I mean, they're doing whatever they want. They're killing one person after the other. But it's so good acted too that that it's just fun to watch it. And yeah, I love that shows.
I love Taylor Sheridan telling a story about how he was broke and his wife maxed out her credit card to get him Final Draft, software on his computer so he could start writing. And then he turned out Sicario and Wind River and Hell or High Water, and now he has an empire. It's like I love that they didn't have enough money. They had to max out a credit card to get that. And so I kind of admire that about him. He sort of built his own, made his own way. And also too, like you brought up Robert Rodriguez, and you like I think growing up I admired directors who came from outside of the system. To like, Robert Rodriguez said he had to do like tests on his body to raise money for El Mariachi, and he had to count the amount of feet that he shot on because he had to storyboard and like because he didn't have enough money for film. So like I love how you made it. Your movies made it into 2,000 screens. Like you get Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith, Taylor Sheridan. Like I love when directors are able to kind of make a mark on the industry from outside the industry, and I kind of admire that about Taylor Sheridan. So now when I see his empire, it makes me really happy. And one last question, because I know I got to get you out of here, but for all the listeners, if they got to get like started on your movies, like let's say there's some people who maybe haven't watched your movies, which 3 would you recommend to the listeners to kind of like that sum up your like what would you recommend? What movies of yours would you recommend to the listeners to get going and watch?
I would say Postal as a comedy, Rampage as an action film, Rampage 1, right? And the third one you can pick, right? I like my Tunnel Rats film, the Vietnam War movie, and also Darfur is very good, but it's very brutal, very hard about all the killings in Darfur. But they are basically, I think, have almost the biggest emotional impact on the audience. Some of my films are very cold in a way and cynical, like Rampage, but all of them are entertaining. That was for me the most important thing always, like make films, they are not boring.
I remember in the early 2000s, I saw a House of the Dead movie poster and I went, what's that? And then I went and watched it. Then I read about your career. Then I Bloodrayne popped into theater. So I've followed you since the early 2000s, and I'm happy you're back making movies, and I'm glad that you got to join us to talk to us, talk to the podcast for a little bit. And I appreciate your time.
Yeah, and maybe I will come to Georgia, to Atlanta one time, because I maybe have a project there what I could shoot there. So you can hook me up with the local production houses. And
absolutely, yeah. Give me, you got my email. So and then whenever your movie releases, if you want to come back and chat about it, do some promotion, I'll happily have you back on. So this was a blast.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
It's really fun to talk to somebody who worked in the movies.
Yeah,
because most of the people don't. Like most of the interviews just talk about the content, but they never talk about how more the details about movie making. And that is great that you are a specialist at too. Yeah.
And listen, you made so many movies. Like I want to know about how you shot the movies. Like I find that I'm a movie nerd. Like if there's a movie I love, I go research the camera immediately. So I watching your films, I like knowing about it. So thanks for the stories. This was great. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer.
We talk again then. Yeah,
absolutely. Totally. Yeah. So for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Uwe Boll, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week. All right. Hey, thank you so much. I know you got to get going, but this was great. I'll probably get it edited in the next couple days.
Yeah, I will put the link everywhere where I can also, right? So yeah, okay.
All right, sir. Have a great day.
Okay, I can check out, or you need to save something? Or it's also